Bro, why did he have to ruin what could have been one of the best tracks on this thing?
Nah, the hook is not it.
Yeah. That was one of our first reactions to Future's new project, Mixtape Pluto. If you guys want to catch the entire full live album reaction that we did on Patreon, you guys could access it by hitting the link in the pinned comment. We had a blast with the entire community. But let's get on with this review. Mixtape Pluto.
Yes, sir.
Future's third project of the year.
It's been a run.
Bro, he dropped 2 collab albums with Metro Boomin. Now he comes out with the mixtape vibes. People are like comparing this run to the 2015 run that he had, where he dropped multiple great projects. And I don't know if this run is on par with that one, but it's still cool to be getting this much new Future music. But let's get started with the artist performance. I want to say this. You usually don't go into albums with expectations, but this time you had them.
I had expectations for this mixtape because, I don't know, every time we talk about Future's mixtape catalog, we always hold it to such a high standard, right? Like going back to projects like 56 Nights, for example. I'm not sure if that's actually considered a mixtape or a studio album.
Mixtape.
But I guess it's in studio album format because it hit DSPs, whatever the case may be. It's such like a gray area now. But regardless, when I look at that project, I'm getting such high voltage and I'm getting such incredible performances. And whenever you get that type of mixtape Pluto, and that's why I think he named it like this, you're going to be getting that dark, sort of aggressive, violent sort of Future that's carefree. He doesn't give a fuck about creating hits. He doesn't care about coming in and having to make like a Wait For You, for example. This is for real Future fans and people that have been following his career for the better part of maybe like 15 years now. So I think, with that being said, when I looked at the branding, I'm like, okay, we could be getting that, especially for this mixtape. And for the most part, you did kind of get that, especially when you start off the track list with something like Teflon Don. I think it's one of the most electric performances of the entire album. That verse that he has alone on Teflon Don, he locks into this super fast-paced, quick flow. And then after that, once you start getting midway through the verse, he's hitting the flow switches. It's just that type of Future that you absolutely adore. Another performance that I really enjoyed was Ski, bro. This guy was absolutely shredding his verses. I like the hook on it as well. And just going on to like what he was able to provide on the mixtape, there was a consistent feel to it, but I do feel like there's certain miscalculations with his performances, so you want to get into that area.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will say this first. I'm kind of happy that he decided to strip back the crooning and the melodic performances because they don't really come that often at all on these 17 tracks. So it was really cool to get that classic, syrupy, aggressive style from Future that made him one of this generation's defining artists, especially if you're familiar with Monster and 56 Nights and the entire mixtape catalog. So it was cool to see him hone in on that sound, and I think a big part to play within that was the fact that Southside and Wheezy were the executive producers of the album, which we'll get into later. But yeah, like you said, you start off this album so fucking strong with those first 4 tracks. Even looking at a song like Little Demon, where he has this stop and go flow that's broken up by these energetic ad-libs. It was just such an adrenaline rush of a performance. And that's something else I have to credit him for when it came to the performance, is that he didn't really focus too much on making the songs catchy. It was just the rawness, the grittiness of his delivery, and him catching the best pockets imaginable, like he did on a song like Ski, where he just goes absolutely fucking berserk. But like you were saying, there's lowlights on this project, starting off with Plutoski, where he decides to intentionally mumble all over the hook, saying, yeah, kind of taking a page out of some recent Kanye West verses where you got some incomplete shit. But it's tragic to me because that song had potential.
Oh my goodness, I was re-listening to that song on the car test today, and I'm like, these 2 verses are way too good to be, squished together in this hook. It's impossible. Like, how do you do this? Like, who was in the studio and let him do this? Like, he didn't even have to put a hook there. Mm-hmm. He could have just fucking put those 2 verses together, made a one long extended verse, and I would have been absolutely amazed. And talking about extended verses, talk about press the button. Maybe give it the same treatment as that, where like you're seeing Future going on this aggressive run, bro. It's one long verse, and then he just kicks into a completely different mode towards the end of it. And it was funny because with the community yesterday, we were like, did he pull a Metro Spider where like he was trying to like kind of catch the beat at first for the first 5 lines and then boom, he gets it, it's unstoppable. He did that. And what's
Yeah.
cool too is that the cadence kind of switched towards the end of the verse where he's using like that deeper voice that, people were like, oh, is this new? It's not new. Go to a mixtape like Purple Rain, for example. That cadence is all over that track list. And I like that as far as a performance goes. A performance that I was kind of like, okay, I understand why he put it. You kind of need like a future melodic track, but I'm not quite too impressed by it. It was too fast. At least he locked into a certain flow, but I don't know. I could have gone without the songs.
Still one of the catchier hooks. I'll say that. Like this
Yeah.
album, mixtape album, whatever you want to call it, doesn't have the catchiest hooks ever, which, like I said, that wasn't the approach. But you do have a catchier one with Too Fast. I also think that Ace Gang had a hook that was hype as fuck as well. But yeah, in terms of some of the other lowlights, performance on MJ is boring as hell. The flow does not change
You didn't like the
whatsoever.
GTA cadence?
Bro, the flow does not change whatsoever from the verse to the hook, and then it sounds like he's half asleep throughout the entire track. And sure, you had the menacing cadence that people were saying sounds like GTA, but that was a weak one for me. But yeah, bro, I mean, ultimately, I feel like he did a decent job. I think that when he's locked in, he's unstoppable, bro. When he's hitting you with that aggressive delivery, when he's getting into those unbreakable flows, he really cooked when it came to that. That being said, there's moments where he's off his game, where he's rapping off beat, or he's trying these inflections that are not really working out, or maybe there's a lack of tone or vocal diversity.
That's
so
it.
ultimately, I want to give it a good rating for the
I think it was a good
performance.
performance overall. Yeah, I think there's definitely like lowlights, like you were saying on this track list, but ultimately he did his job and he came in and he delivered. But let's get into the content. All right, man. How do you want to describe this mixtape? You want to?
I mean, listen, the subject matter is predictable, right? Like
course.
Future's rapping about what he always does, and he actually has a line about it where he says, "I talk drugs, I talk diamonds, I talk money, ashallah." I mean, he forgot to put women in there, which is obviously like
A huge like.
massive, probably the biggest one. Just him being.
Wasn't he saying like if I stopped talking about misogyny, I fell off? That was another line within the album as well.
I'm not sure if he said that exactly,
but it was something along the lines of that. But you know
Yeah.
what? You are going to get deep cuts. Going on to Lost My Dog, this was an interesting song off of the project. I wasn't a big fan of the execution, and it was maybe something I was going to touch upon as far as the performance goes. I'm not a fan of the melodies or maybe the vocal inflections, but some pretty nice writing on this. It's Future advocating against drugs on a mixtape that's kind of all about codeine and about getting fucked, but he's talking about how he lost his friend to Percocets and how, now he feels like he's going to relapse back.
Fentanyl. And it was actually, it was his cousin, Rico Wade. Rest in peace to Rico Wade. And yeah, raps about also losing another homie to gang wars, and you really hear the pain within the vocals. So that was a highlight, even though, again, wasn't sure about the execution entirely as a song, if it really worked. But
How about Ocean? That was another one.
another deep one where he's rapping
Yeah.
about his trauma, the guilt he's endured for serving his auntie, dealing with the loss of his uncle, who
Not
got him
seeing
into
his
music.
cousin as well for a long time, and just the types of things that fame kind of brought into his life and how he feels kind of detached to a certain extent. So you are going to be getting certain nice moments within it, but for the most part, it's Wraith talk. It's him talking about the women that he slashes, and just the
A lot of trap talk as well,
yeah,
right?
and how
Like
much
making
coke-
people's mamas cries and shooting up churches and just Future on that demon time,
Yeah, absolutely. But overall, it's mid content.
It's mid content, yeah, which
yeah,
is
but you're
kind
not-
of what
but
you
you're not-
expect.
yeah, you're not coming here for that though. At
No,
the end of the day,
you're not.
Um,
And I think like we always say this when it comes to certain projects that are more in the trap space, that when it comes to the content category, we kind of like value it a bit less when factoring an overall score, because it's not really what you're going in for.
Absolutely.
But all right, let's keep on going to the production. So this production, like I said, executive produced by Southside and Wheezy. You also had other trap producers that are very well known, such as London on the Track, Honorable C Note, DY Crazy, and more.
Torres, Che Pope.
And
you got a lot of people.
surprisingly, after 2 collab albums with Metro Boomin, not a single placement from Metro Boomin on this album, and it did feel like his presence was missing at certain points within the track list.
It did, but I want to talk about this, okay? Because you could go through this project and you could find so many different types of highlights within it. Like going to Teflon Don, for example. Again, Car tested the song, and when those like opera vocals come in and out of that beat, like it's so fucking creative and it feels so grandiose. It's absolutely beautiful.
Also, pair that up with the Godfather theme song.
Crazy.
Insane.
It's absolutely stupid, right? On Ski, the violins that come in, like I absolutely love that too. Like there's certain highlights on here, but there's a huge problem with the mixing and mastering off of this project. And you and I were having the conversation before we started recording this review, where it's like, I get it. You know, it's a mixtape, and if you go through, Future's mixtape catalog, yeah, like you're gonna find certain tracks that maybe don't have the best vocal mixing, for example, whatever the case may be. Like there's a dirty mix to it, and I could appreciate that. But there's a lot of songs on here where it's like I can't make out certain vocals. I can't make out, let's say, a keyboard that's in back. It's just like everything kind of feels drowned in. For example, something like Ocean. I feel like if that song was better mixed and mastered, where you could actually hear, Future's vocals and you could actually hear his presence, it would have added so much more to the track list. And that's something that I feel like is a problem for this entire mixtape is like, I'm playing these songs in the car. I'm not fucking sitting in this studio with my AirPods on. Like, I'm playing Future where Future is meant to be played, within my car speakers and really having a good time with it. And I'm like, there's a sort of magic that's missing. It's like, I want to hear the vocals a bit more. Or maybe, fuck, those 88, like those 808s are too, like, they're too present. Like, it just doesn't make sense for the track list. So how did you feel overall about the quality of the mixing and mastering, and maybe some highlights production-wise as far as beats go?
Yeah, listen, it didn't really bother me the whole way through. I think it's definitely a case of certain tracks have poor mixing. Looking at something like Too Fast, I think the 808s were clipping a little bit too much. They were a bit over abused. Apart from that, I mean, like you said, Ocean, the mixing's terrible. It literally sounds like it was produced at the bottom of the fucking ocean. And Future's vocals really had to be louder on that song.
Even like something as like South of France, for example, right? I really like that song.
Overproduced.
But if it
There's
was
too many elements going on.
But the problem is not that. The problem is that it's a fucking soup. If it was mixed and mastered properly, I feel like that would have been executed a lot better, and you would have been able to understand the full experience. So maybe it was a case where they're like, fuck it, let's give people a dirty mix because this is Mixtape Pluto, and he wants to give us something that feels maybe a bit more close to home for his fan base, for people that are a fan of his mixtape catalog. But at the end of the day, it did take away from certain tracks. But something like Ready to Cook Up, I love the menacing production off of that. Shout out to Juke Wong and Wheezy who took care of the production on that. Even something like Lil Demon, bro, I love the Southside drums on that one. The 808s are fucking thumping, and it's just Future capturing this crazy pocket. So what's your favorite beat on the entire mixtape?
Favorite beat on the mixtape? It's probably still going to have to be Teflon Don. Just the cinematic value is too great. But other beats that I enjoyed, definitely Plutoski. That was a sensational beat. I love the drop on it. Insane. And I mean, yeah, I think that's the one regard, or like, it's one of the aspects where you could say, okay, you know what? There are certain songs that give me a 56 Nights vibe where you have these dark, hard knocking beats that have these really cool buildups, these sick drops at times when it comes to the way the bass splashes in. So you do get, your fair share of that. Ultimately, though, there are weaker beats. You do have a generic sounding beat on Too Fast, like I mentioned. The snares got really annoying for me on something like Made a Hoe Faint, just very super repetitive beat there. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I gave it a good rating because the highs are pretty high, and I do like some of the sequencing choices that you don't really get track to track transitions that are fire the whole way through, but you get a couple of those moments. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, Southside's not going to do any wrong. So
no, he's not going to do any wrong. But I feel like it is standard though for Future and Southside. I feel like I've heard this sound before, and like for that reason as well, it's like you're not getting the craziest soundscape, but you're gonna enjoy it. There's some absolutely ridiculous beats, and then there's beats like Ocean and like production on Ocean where you can't even listen to the track because it sounds like a soup. So fair rating for the production. That we're gonna go with good on that one. But let's go into the replay value of this. So what's nice about this project is that it's 17 songs, but it's 44 minutes. There's very few songs on this track list, if any, for that matter, that pass the 3-minute mark.
There's a couple, yeah.
I believe the only ones that really do are like Press the Button that goes over it, and I believe maybe Teflon Don.
There's like 3 or 4 about. Yeah, yeah, no, most of them are around that 2-minute range, which is pretty cool. He doesn't really overstay his welcome on any tracks. Gets in there, does what he has to do. I never felt like, oh, this hook came in one too many times. He really structured the songs well for what he was trying to go for, so I respected that. And when it comes to any Future project, this is just pure whip music, bro. And listen, even though I'm not fucking with every single song on here, there's gonna be some of these fucking songs blasting onto my speakers. That's the reality.
This is where I'm at with the score, though. Like, do I go mid or good? Because the problem is that like the 5 to 6 songs that I'm gonna be keeping, oh, bro, I'm on it, and like it's gonna be in
only 6.
I don't know, bro.
Okay,
It's
let's
really
go
hard.
through this track list.
Okay, so let's do it. Okay.
So Teflon Don's a keeper.
Duh.
Lil Demon keeper.
Keeper.
Ski is a keeper.
Keeper.
Ready to cook
Cook
up?
Up,
Yes. Plutoski, no.
No.
Too fast, no. Ocean, no.
no.
Press the button, yes.
5.
MJ, no.
no.
Brazier's not bad.
I'm not keeping it though.
Okay,
You're keeping it?
I'm
Really?
gonna keep Brazier, south of France.
I'm keeping that. I'm at 6.
I'm still at 6 as well. Surfing a Tsunami, unique
Nah.
beat, but I don't like that siren sound. I don't think Future was meant for that beat.
Made my whole faint.
No,
Told my.
Tolmai's not bad.
It's okay.
I'm gonna keep Oath though. I'm not gonna keep
Yes,
Tolmai.
I'm gonna keep Oath.
And then Ace Gang. I got 8 out of 7 out of 17. Excuse me. So it's like half the track list about that I'm keeping.
If you're lucky, bro.
Yeah.
But really, like, are you gonna revisit Oath
This
all
is
that much?
no. This is a shuffle album though. Like that's
Yeah,
the thing. It's
absolutely.
like if some of these songs come on, maybe I'll keep them on like an Oath or a Brazier, maybe. But yeah, there's really
Realistic-
like 5-6 songs that I really mess with. You know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm between mid or good. I mean,
You know what? For the sheer amount that I'm probably gonna bump it in the whip, bro, I have to give it a good rating.
we can give it a good rating.
Yeah,
man,
honestly, it's such a toss up because like you are low key missing a good like, I don't know, 60% of this track list. But at the end of the day, don't tell me you're gonna abuse Teflon Don, or don't tell me you're gonna go back
Yeah.
to ski and like,
That's
like
it.
I'm going to see my little cousin after and like, bro, we're playing that on his subwoofers.
Mm-hmm.
Just gonna show him and his mind's gonna be blown. You know, so like I'm down. Like I'm down to get into this mixtape. It's just like, bro, when are you ever gonna go back to Too Fast?
Bro, it
It's-
really
it's
should.
not it.
If you really wanted to compare it to 56 Nights, which I think DY Crazy either said they were going for that sound or that it was originally supposed to be a sequel, should have made it 7 songs the way that 56 Nights was.
Bro, even 10. Even 10, you could have
10 would have been too many. Based on what we heard, 7 songs, bro. Just fucking do it. Repeat it.
Yeah, but I mean, we're pricks with that. We always like the shorter track list. But he has to do what he has to do.
But
you
yeah,
know?
overall thoughts on this project. You're getting another Future mixtape. Like if you're a fan of that old Future where you're getting these big, brash, dark beats, you're going to get that. If you want a project where Future's really at the helm and there's no features, like a lot of his older mixtapes, you're getting that once again. If you want Pluto's presence to be larger than life and to be aggressive, you're going to get that. Like, it's really classic mixtape Future. Now, to me, the issue is that there's no real, like, cohesion within the project, which it is what it is. Sonically, you can make an
I don't
argument
give
that
a
there
fuck,
is.
though, for a
But at the
Future
end of the day,
mixtape.
like, I'm going in for some bangers. I think that a lot of the flows were really fire. I think that ultimately I might enjoy it more than We Still Don't Trust You. I'm not sure yet because I'm mixed on both of those projects.
Yeah, that's true. I think that you could gather a crazy selection of like 2024 Future songs, right?
Yeah.
Like you could take out a Teflon Don, Little Demon Ski, Ready to Cook Up, and you could put that in a playlist, let's say, with some of the stuff that you got on like the part 2 of We Still Don't Trust
And
You.
that's what's cool is that like
Yeah.
he sort of teased this mixtape through the second half of We Still Don't Trust You by giving us those mixtape Future
He
vibes.
went on a run, man. I can't be mad at him, bro.
Yeah, and it's not a 2015 run. I don't
But
even
you know-
I don't even know if it's enough of a run to give him MVP of 2024. But he'll be in conversation
Bro,
for some
sure.
people.
Yeah, he had one. Yeah,
For some
he had
people,
one of
he'll
the
be there.
craziest runs this year, though. Out of sheer output.
Out of sheer output, but like, what about like quality to output?
Oh, but you
know?
got
Like,
a
that's-
lot of songs, though. You got
Sure
a,
you did.
You got
Sure
a
you did.
lot of
I'm
fantastic
just
records
saying,
from
when I
this
have
year.
2 projects that are not great out of the 3 albums, that's not an MVP run to me.
No, it's not an MVP run, but it does put him in contention for like a top 10 rapper of the year
it
for
will
sure.
be.
Like
It
I
will
think
be.
2024 is going to be remembered for this Future run,
For
and
sure.
a lot of people are going to enjoy what he did. So yeah, my final thoughts on the project. I think, listen, you got Mixtape Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not going to get a DS2 out of this. I didn't expect a We Don't Trust You either. I just wanted something that was going to hit in the whip, and that's exactly what I got. Going on to songs like Teflon Don, you know, Ready to Cook Up, going on to Press the Button. These are songs that are going to be a mainstay within my rotation. He gave you classic Future performances. Yeah, there was some issues with mixing and mastering, but fuck it. It's a mixtape, and I'm here to listen to it. So, guys, good overall rating.
Yeah,
And I think
good.
that's fair. I think that's a fair rating for it. But, guys, let us know in the comment sections. How do you feel about this 17-song track list? What would you keep? What would you cut? And how did you like it? What would you score it using our rating? Thank you guys so much for watching this review, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.